you have here is what I call an Ottertail blade. And an Ottertail blade is a wonderful blade, especially if you're soloing or you're a stern paddler in a canoe. And the reason for that is that the widest part of the paddle is up here, which essentially means that when the paddle goes in the water, the power you're transferring is actually to the surface of the water, this portion of the paddle. And when you come to the J stroke, you're not getting the shatter you would get from a paddle which is wide here and narrow here, which really is what tires you out up in here. You will, when you learn to paddle with something like this, you will very quickly find that to compensate for grabbing more water, you have to up your stroke rate. But it's still easy to do. And you actually, if you look at natives or you look at the voyageurs with the big voyageurs canoes, what they were using was all very slim paddles, just for that reason.
Fascinating. It's interesting. So some people think the larger the paddle, the better, the faster you can paddle, or the easier you can paddle. But what you're saying, that's not true.
The other thing is, I paddle myself, and I always have two paddles in the canoe. I always have an Ottertail or a slim paddle, and I also have a beaver tail, because there is times when you get out on the lake, the wind picks up, and now you want to get from the middle of the lake into the shore to protected waters fairly quick. Of course, I put this paddle down, I grab my beaver tail, or what I also call a pizza shovel, and now you grab a lot of water, and you place the bow of your canoe so you take advantage of the wind, so you don't have to jam. Right?
Right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So it all comes off the trees. You get the trees, you bring them in, and this is where it.
Yeah, I buy the logs.
Where it.
And the paddle wood, most of the paddle wood comes from the outside edges, pretty much. And the better stuff, and then the rest of the log gets used for other stuff. All the other stuff we make, seats and yokes and things like that. Anything else you can make out of it, more or less.
Yeah.
You need a straighter grain wood from the outside for these paddles, for the handles and whatnot, to keep them as straight as possible. Keep the grain as straight in the handle as possible so they're stronger. So, try to keep this strong and as straight as possible.
What's the weight of the final product?
It depends on what kind of paddle it is. Probably 32 ounces and up, somewhere in there, around 2 pounds.
Because
Depends a lot on the paddle. You go from 54 inch all the way up to 6 foot, so.
Right. And when it starts, so you have a template or something, cut them out here?
Paddles we use.
Ah.
These ones here, the ones we had down at Woodworking, They're a little stain from the fire. They went through the fire down there, but they survived it because they're made of metal. So
Wow, wow, wow.
they survived.
It's all one out to start with then. Following the pattern here. Rough cut.
Don't fall very straight. Work down the edge. Oh, we gotta have a straight side.
So we have to have a straight side here.
We're gonna put it through this.
Planes both on the both sides at the same time then?
No, just one side.
Just one side.
Just those one side.
He's got a measurement there too, he's working on it. Straightening the rest of the handle now.
See certain things anymore.
Your trained eye, the trained eye.
Yeah.
Ah, so you put a line on it with that in order to get the blade, I see.
That's why the paddle has to be straight to start with. If it isn't, this edge has to be straight. If it isn't, the rest of the paddle will be bowed. Whatever it is, that's what it'll be. So you have to straighten it first.
And if it's not straight, then I'll paddle in a circle all day. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah. Just use big shapers to do it.
So the paddle is still very heavy right now. So so how does it go from this weight, which is, what, pound, 2 pounds, to
More than that.
term
3 or 4 pounds right now.
about 4 pounds,
We're
2
about to take a whole
ounces.
bunch off the blade here.
Okay, here we go. Fascinating to me that the weight change here. In this next step, significant wood is removed from the blade in a beveling manner. Notice the saw blade's protruding angle as Rick bevels the blade from thicker at the center to become thinner at the blade edges. The what part? Loud?
This gets loud.
Okay.
That blade. Like this blade
Okay.
nice and straight.
So green dye. Custom-made paddle. The line that he put on, working way through it. Looking at the line all the time, looking at the line, getting it bearing. This is a craftsman at work. Put it through another finer sander. Level of sanding, finer and finer and finer. Actually, we got the sanding 4 pounds to
This right, pick inside tape.
This is fascinating to me because the initial paddle, which was right over here, which was cut out, the template weighs like 4 or 5 pounds. And the end result is probably like a pound?
Usually around 2. Right around there,
About 2 pounds. And it's beautiful. And you put it through 5 or 6 levels of sanding. From here to 3 there, back. This is fascinating. Wonderful. Yep. Now what happens to the paddle? Does it go into the room there for
just gets dipped in that tank.
drying?
Yeah.
Now he's going to do the finishing part of it.
I finished one, but this is the easy part.
Cleans it up.
All there's to it, it'll let the varnish will run off.
So you let them dry for 24 hours?
Yeah. It depends a lot on the
And
time of the year, how much water's in the air. In the summertime, sometimes during wet times, they don't dry there as fast.
Now this a varnish or urethane?
Yeah, it's probably.
polyurethane? Now what about the end of the top of the paddle? I notice when you hold it, obviously it doesn't get the
I don't really have to, but I do what I have to.
How long do you dry them?
It takes a day.
Takes a day. Now these my paddles you're picking out?
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
They've already been dipped twice, so I'm going to get to the pump spot.
Fascinating. And now for the most exciting part for me personally is I finally get to try my Ottertail paddle. My wife and I, with our good friends the Nestlers, we had visited in August. We visited the Buckhorn Canoe Company in Ontario, Canada, and we learned when to use the Ottertail paddle, when not to, and what makes the Ottertail paddle so special. Then in November, through the good luck of my cousin Linwood Parsons, my wife and I, and Linwood and his wife Betty, we went to Dri-Ki Woodworking in Patten, Maine to see and get our custom-made Ottertail paddle. Now it is time to give the Ottertail paddle a try. So here we are on Perkins Pond in Sunapee, New Hampshire for the highlight of our canoeing using our custom-made Ottertail paddle. In a few seconds you'll see why I will now never have to say I wish I had paddled a canoe using an Ottertail paddle. We went up to Ontario, Canada, went up to Buckhorn Canoe Company and talked to Dick Person, the owner of the Buckhorn Canoe Company, and he explained to us the difference between the paddle tail and the Ottertail. And at that point in time, I had never really tried the Ottertail. So in this particular video here, you heard Dick's explanation of the difference between the two. And I had never tried the Ottertail, so I figured it was about time to try an Ottertail. So I went to Patten, Maine, and I went to the Dri-Ki Woodworking Company, and I met with Rick Kim, the owner, and he measured me for an Ottertail. And there's various ways of measuring for the Ottertail, and the way that he measured with me was to stand up and from the bottom of my chin to the ground, and he made me a custom Ottertail. So we are now here in Sunapee, New Hampshire, and I have used the beaver tail, which is a fairly wide blade, 7 inches or so. I've used a bent shaft paddle, but today is the first time I'm going to use my Ottertail. So we're going to give it a whirl, and we're going to see what happens here.
paddle has never been wet. So we call this the virgin dip. Here we go. In the water for the first time. Look at that. It's a nice paddle. Nice paddle. It's not too long.
Just the right height then, huh?
Yeah, that's good. Nice paddle. And it's fat on the bottom.
Here's Dundee demonstrating the J-stroke with his brand new Ottertail paddle. And you will notice he's keeping the paddle in the water as he comes forward with it. He's got the backward stroke and it's coming in. What do you think? How's it feel?
Looks beautiful. Very nice. Nice and smooth.
You look good and very comfortable in it.
Yeah.
This is Outdoor Steve from Sunapee, New Hampshire, saying I never have to say I have not tried an Ottertail paddle. We wish you happy canoeing.